The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I am joined by a guy who is having to talk to me for the second time in like 3 days. Regz. Remember when we used to do this like every day, like 15 years ago?
I do. And I'll see you this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
a lot of contact. Lot of contact.
I'll never complain. Never once.
No. Imagine if we could have done this when we were in college.
I mean, I think we'd
Like
have
if
like
podcasting was a thing.
I think we'd have lots of money and we'd be, leading our own little podcast network by now. If we had started back then.
Yeah, like I imagine, like we went to school during a pretty cool time, right? The rise of social media, the cell phones were kind of coming to their own as smartphones at that time. We got to see like a World Series championship. So that like it was a good time to be in college. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I do feel as though if this were like a niche thing, then we would have done it. I feel like the 7 of us probably would have done some sort of
I think it was
thing,
just
right?
starting. I think Bill Simmons said he started in like 2007 maybe.
Okay.
And it was like it was just becoming a thing. Not a thing, but it was just becoming
Right.
something. Just the sort of medium of a podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I think the thing was you couldn't get it on your cell phone. You had to probably get it through iTunes, which then you had to download on your iPod because phones had not, or they were just getting into, I don't even, when did the first iPhone come out? So before or after we were in college? I feel like maybe I'm going to look this up while we're talking.
Yeah, look it up because I had a BlackBerry out of college.
Okay. June 29th, 2007, the first iPhone was introduced. So that's right in the middle of our college run. I mean, I had like that flip text phone that still had, we couldn't afford we couldn't afford iPhones at the time.
No, same.
Probably not till maybe senior year we would have had one, maybe 2 years later.
I had a Razor. Remember I had one of those Razors?
Yep.
And then when I left college, I got a BlackBerry.
Okay.
But I don't think I got my first iPhone 4 or 5 years out of college.
Yeah,
and now
maybe.
and then I did switch. I did switch over to what do you call it?
Android.
I wasn't Apple. I was an Android for like a minute and just couldn't do it. So I moved back to the iPhone and I've been there ever since.
Yeah. So I mean,
but you're right. Like you would have to download it on iTunes.
Right. I think we all had iPods at that point.
Oh my gosh. How
and
funny is that?
The video iPod had just maybe come out.
Yeah. I had a video iPod.
Yeah, so did I. I'm looking up the video iPod. That was 2005. Okay.
Yeah.
The first video iPod.
I got one for Christmas. I got one for Christmas when we lived in Ober altogether. Like on the alcohol and drug free floor.
That's right.
Which we totally abided by.
Of course, because we are rule-abiding citizens.
Angels.
I couldn't get through it without coughing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even remember downloading podcasts.
No, Regz, I don't think I listened to a podcast until, I mean, it's been a few years, right? Like these, I feel like I was a little bit ahead of my time. We've talked about this on the show. when I did like the internet radio show
Yeah.
for Philipfans.com, like that was almost like ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in like 09, 10, 11. I was doing that.
Yeah.
So, podcasting wasn't necessarily a thing for, I don't know, another 5, 6 years, whether Bill Simmons was doing it or not. It wasn't
Yeah.
popular
Right.
for another few years. Like even until just a few years ago, I really listened to music and like comedy shows on like my phone. That was it. So
Yeah. See,
it's funny.
I don't know when I started, but I dove in deep. Like
Yeah.
it's almost all I don't listen to the radio unless I'm getting like I'm somewhere where I can get a Phillies game or something on the radio.
Right.
It's
Right.
always
Right.
podcast for me. Always. And even I mean now I don't get through them as much because I used to have like a 50-minute commute, one way. So that
Yeah.
soaked up a lot of podcast time, and so did just like sitting at your desk at work, you throw your earbuds in and listen to them. But yeah, I wonder how many I mean at this point it's probably close to 20. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11
Wow.
13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 that I'm subscribed
That you have
to.
on rotation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of them I have
Wow.
stacked up. Like
Okay.
I don't listen to it enough, but I have 74 episodes stacked up that I have to get through.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So I've got like 5 or 6 in rotation.
Yeah.
I have an Eagles one that I listen to pretty much like religiously. And I have High Hopes that I
Mhm.
listen to pretty religiously. I have the Philly show with Rube and Jim and Todd. I'm pretty religious with.
Yep.
I have a Notre Dame one called The Independent that I'm religious with. And I have a few like one-offs that like I'll listen to here and there. There's a really cool one called The Moth. It's like a storytelling podcast that I love. I think it's really cool, creative stuff. And then outside of that, like I just started getting into audiobooks. So
Yeah.
I listen to like nonfiction audiobooks on there too. So it's crazy how far like in 15 years things have come, but full circle to we would have been in this game 15 years ago if it were available to us.
Yep. Should have seen it coming.
Probably
Coulda just
talking
been-
about the originator. Could have been the Barstool, honestly.
I mean, at this point we would have been
the
Barstool Philly guys, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like there's probably some company looking for a Philly conglomerate that we should just slide into.
I mean, I feel like we could be the PHLY Phillies coverage right now.
Oh, for sure.
No offense to them.
I don't want to insult them.
I don't either. I love the Eagles stuff. Their Sixers stuff, by all accounts, is pretty good. They have a bunch of Flyers coverage even, but their Philly stuff is just. I mean, our boy Jim Salisbury is over there writing every once in a while, but
but he doesn't do the podcast.
No,
he does the podcast with the other guys.
The podcast side is lacking severely.
Listen, I'll just reach out to my guy Zach.
Yeah, I feel like we could step right in right now. Perfectly seamless.
ZB, listen, I can read ads like nobody's business.
Oh, yeah, it'd be perfect.
Like let me just get in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Phils, I'll send something to ZB. ZB, listen.
We'll be in touch.
I got you, buddy. We'll be in touch. Also, it would be a great guest for the show, by the way.
It would, yeah.
So, want to talk about the Phils here. Want to talk about a bunch of things going on. The main one being, and this was like hilarious the other day. We both read the same thing, both sent it to each other, but both read it completely wrong. They made a bunch of front office type of moves. The biggest one being that Sam Fold is finishing his MBA, and when he returns, he will be the president of business operations.
Yes.
I read it as president of baseball operations initially and thought that that meant that our guy, Dave, retiring. When I reread it, I was like, oh, that says business operations. Dave's not going anywhere yet. Preston Mattingly has been promoted to general manager. Now, Regs, to me, this feels like it smells like one thing that teams were sniffing around on Preston. They wanted to bring Preston and pull him away from Philly for a promotion in another organization. And what this is the Phillies saying, look, Dave's only got a few more years left. You've got the keys to the car when Dave leaves.
Yeah.
It is your organization when Dave leaves. And honestly, Regs, I have zero issue with that. I've loved everything that Preston Mattingly has brought to the player development side of the Phillies organization. We're seeing major strides there. Brian Barber doesn't seem like he wants to go anywhere. He just wants to be like the head of drafting and talent development, which is great. To have the guy waiting in the wings that a lot of teams are very high on, and now let him learn under Dave Dombrowski and start to work alongside a little more closely with John Middleton, to me is the right idea. And I wanted to protect him at all costs. My biggest fear was that we were going to lose Preston Mattingly, and now it feels like he's just the heir apparent to a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I agree. I think everyone read it quickly and was like, wait, what is happening? The timing is a little not weird, but Samfold technically doesn't take that position for another 2 years in 2026. So technically, I guess they have 2 GMs and one president of baseball operations for a little while. I'm sure Sam is moving more towards the business side every day, which is, getting him ready to take over that role. It seems like, unfortunately for Sam, they tried him out. Maybe he just didn't quite have the juice that Preston does. And I think you're completely correct that teams were looking at Preston as this up-and-comer. He's made great strides with the Phillies in their development and all those things, and their player development, which is something they severely lacked. But Dave and John Middleton get a lot of credit for that and putting the right people in place to improve that side of the Phillies organization. But I'm with you. I'm not mad about it. I'm happy to keep somebody around who is sort of seen as a rising star. Look, can he be a great, director of baseball operations? Who knows? But I think keeping him around to see what happens is certainly worth it. So I think we can appreciate them moving quickly, them figuring this out, and being willing to do what they have to do to keep talent in the front office of the organization for hopefully many years to come.
Yeah, once you get that president of baseball ops job, it's yours. And I do wonder what happened with Sam Fold. It could very well be what you just said. It could also be this is what Sam Fold wants. Like, he wants to be involved in the business side of things. And this, is his opportunity to do so. I could see either side being true, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Maybe, they approached him and said, Sam, we love your business acumen, and this is the route you're heading anyway. So why don't we just promise you this, and we can keep Preston and have a really young core to our office. So either way, it's good news for the Phils. They get to keep some really smart guys around for the long haul. Another side to this, on the actual big league side of things and away from the front office, they did lose Brent Strom to the Brewers, the Diamondbacks. I'm sorry. The assistant pitching coach has now left to become the pitching coach in Arizona, and that's a pretty big.
Brian Kaplan.
Go ahead. Did I read the wrong name? I did read the wrong name. You're right. I'm sorry. It is Brian Kaplan. Yeah. Sorry. Brian Kaplan to the Arizona Diamondbacks. He replaced Brent Strom.
There you go.
That's my bad. I read the article backward. Yeah. So that hurts because
Yeah.
he did a lot alongside of Caleb Cotham. I still trust Caleb Cotham with everything. The only fear I have is Cotham, eventually goes to take a managerial spot, which doesn't seem to be going to pitching coaches like it used to. It feels
Yeah,
like
it
it's just
really
going to
doesn't.
former players.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he might just stay in this realm for his career, and we don't have to worry about replacing him unless we decide to move on from him, which just doesn't seem likely. But anytime you lose a guy who was so incremental to what you do as an organization and what you do with a certain positional group, it's a big loss. So Kaplan, and like you said to me yesterday, like it's got to be Arizona,
Yeah,
right? Like of
right,
all
of course.
places,
Who just had like a miserable
it's got
pitching
to be there.
year. And of course he's probably going to
Yeah.
go there and turn it around. Look, I think Kaplan was huge in like creating plans for these guys, in sort of setting up off-season plans, things like that. Of course we trust Caleb, but I think he was a big part of this. He was a big part of getting all these guys ready to pitch and maybe their plans for adding new pitches, all those things. He had a really great relationship with Andrew Painter. I think they had been, he had kind of trained Painter for a long time, so they had a really personal relationship. Again, that doesn't mean Andrew Painter is going to leave the Phillies, but this goes a little deeper than just losing your assistant pitching coach. He was a big part of what they were doing, and the turnaround that we've seen with this team and turning a lot of these guys who were, nobodies into really good pitchers. So yeah, that's a tough one. I hope we never have to face his people in the playoffs. And hopefully he hates Arizona and wants to come back.
I like that ending. Yeah, I think like I said, anytime you lose someone so instrumental in the things that you do, and the whole process is intricate, whether it's on the offensive side, the pitching side, the defensive side, the bullpen, whatever. When they do like the beginning of the year, at opening day, and everybody's running out and doing. Most people are like, all right, there's this guy, there's this guy, and I'm guilty of that until you get to the names that you recognize. But every single one of them has value to the organization. They wouldn't be there. And someone like Kaplan clearly has added value because when teams go to look for new pitching coaches, it's either a retread or someone that you've never heard of who's kind of coming out of nowhere. Caleb Cotham was the guy. He was an assistant pitching coach who took the step to become a pitching coach. And look at him. Look at what he's done with the Phillies. And some of that is the support around him. Doesn't mean he doesn't have another Brian Kaplan waiting in the wings,
sure.
someone else that they trust, someone that, he built a relationship with through Driveline that they're no longer associated to, but I'm sure he still has connections to. So just something to keep an eye on as the Phillies look to replace that piece of the puzzle. But yeah, a couple of minor moves around this week that I just wanted to make mention. But with all of that being said, Regs, I did a part 2 to our off season.
Beautiful.
And I do believe that this is a Regs off season, and I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
Again,
but there's a certain guy in here that I think you'll be very pleased with.
I can't wait. I'm going into this with zero knowledge, so I'm very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So there are some guys that I repeat getting. One will not be Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Because the more that we go into this offseason, the more I'm actually believing them that they're not involved.
Yeah. It's becoming almost getting too weird. We've passed the point of where maybe we thought they were playing coy. And now we're into the you're talking about this too much. Something's not passing the sniff test here. And how, kind of like how you and I texted, it's like I just can't believe it. I can't believe they would just bow out. John Middleton's like a competitive guy. Like I can't foresee him just being like, yeah, it's fine. we'll just, we'll just work on everybody else. I just can't believe that to be true. I guess until it is. I can't believe it to be
Right.
true until it is.
And right, like you said, until it is, because I don't know that it is. And they're talking about it too much. It goes against everything that we've come to recognize the organization as, which almost makes it feel forced.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I keep seeing all these other teams. The Red Sox were not a team I anticipated,
Yeah.
but could be a very interesting place, although they are very left-handed heavy as it is. And they have like 3 or 4 prospects that are also left-handed. So they'd have to move some things around. I did look there for this offseason, see who I could like steal from them. And I thought about getting that Yoshida because in my head I was like, how are we gonna get Japanese players to
Yeah.
come here?
Right. Yeah.
You gotta bring one here.
Yeah.
So I looked at him. He just had shoulder surgery in October.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel like the right type of move. So let's start here. I went and got Crochet again
Okay.
because now I am fixated, pun intended, on getting this guy here. I want Garrett Crochet here. So this is the move. Changed it a little.
Okay.
Alec Bohm is still going to Chicago. Sending Taiwan Walker with like $15 million to Chicago. That leaves like 20 million for them to take care of. That'll come in a little bit.
All right.
With that, because of that, we're going to have to send 2 top prospects, like 2 of the top 5. So, I can see your eyes. You're not
Yeah,
thrilled with this.
I'm scared.
Starlin Caba is still going.
Okay.
Also sending Eduardo Tejet,
Oh.
which crushes my soul
Oh.
because I love him. But if you want talent, you got to give up talent. I can protect Aiden Miller and I can protect Andrew Painter and I can protect Justin Crawford.
Do you think like a McGarry Abel combo gets it
Well,
done?
Abel is going elsewhere
Okay. All right. I'm jumping the
this
gun. My
situation.
apologies.
He's going elsewhere. McGarry stinks.
Oh, Tate.
So,
That's
no.
God. Our cat, like we just have no catching. If that guy can just be a horse, I don't even care how good he is catching the ball. Like, just be an absolute horse back there.
Well, and it doesn't, they could very well find a more creative way to do it.
Yeah.
With my lack of resources, this was my deal.
Okay.
To get him here. And I think with another trade, it's necessary. So Crochet then replaces Ranger, who gets sent to Milwaukee for Devin Williams and a prospect. And the reason why I think that happens, I think the value of a starter is far greater than the value of a reliever. So they're going to have to include something else besides Williams coming back for a guy who was really good for most of this year and has been really good overall. And they always look for like cost control.
I was about to say they're always looking for cheap starters, right?
And even on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah.
So Ranger makes a ton of sense for them. So again, a little bit of a repeat. Still want Williams, still want Crochet. Here's where we go different. Okay. I'm also adding Clay Holmes.
Okay.
Clay Holmes is not a starter, but they will need a right-handed reliever. They're losing 2. We talked about this last time. So you're going to have to replace 2 right-handed relievers. I think Clay Holmes, what I watched in the postseason, was fine in middle relief. I think he's probably going to look for a 1-year deal to reestablish value, maybe a 2-year deal or 1 year with an option. I got him at like 1 for 15, 1 for 14. I think that's a fair valuation for him. And I think it's a nice supplement to Hoffman and Estevez. Like Devin Williams is dominant, right? So there's your Hoffman supplement.
Yeah.
And Clay Holmes is fine. There's your, I mean, Holmes closed for the Yankees most of the year. He just ran out of gas late and couldn't close anymore. But he's been a good reliever for a while now.
Yeah.
So
the stuff is
that's
certainly there with him. Like,
and I would love to see him with Cotham for like a year.
yeah. And look, you still have Kirkring to be that setup guy.
Exactly. So again, you replace the two guys who are probably going to get multi-year deals elsewhere for a 1-year deal and a 1-year deal. And maybe you can extend one of them during the season. Right? But it looks like teams are looking at Hoffman as like a super arm.
Yeah.
Sort of like a guy who can start and relieve, and the Phillies don't want any part of that. They just want relievers.
Yeah, I also don't know. I don't know. I think I'd have to see it with Hoff. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff's it's possible, but we saw what happens when you tried to bring him out for after long innings, things like that.
Yeah.
It's just not great. So, okay. So there's your revamped bullpen. I still think there's probably room for one more guy. And I'm still in on, and this might come in a third edition of this. It might come in the form of like a Scherzer, who I think is a fun little chance to take in a bullpen scenario. Okay. Now they traded Alec Boehm, which means they've got to get a third baseman. Here's where that $20 million that the White Sox are taking on with Taijuan Walker comes in. Alex Bregman, 3 years, $105 million with a mutual option for a 4th year, has like a $4 million buyout. You don't re-sign him or don't bring him back for that 4th year. If he rejects it, he just walks. Nothing for him. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about Bregman versus Boehm. Lot of fans saying that they prefer Boehm based off of numbers like RBIs, runners in scoring position, so on and so forth. That drives me nuts. Like, Bregman is immediately an upgrade in approach. He's an upgrade defensively, upgrade in power. I don't know. It's hard to say, hey, Alex, this much better with runners in scoring position. Alec also has 3 guys hitting in front of him. Bregman hit second. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he hit second, maybe third for them. Altuve gets on base a good bit. I think, if I'm not wrong, when Tucker was injured, Bregman hit second. So not necessarily a guy who's getting a ton of spots with runners in scoring position. You have to check me on that. But
I am checking.
I know last time I went with Kim, but I went a little different this time. I love Alex Bregman. I know he's 30. A 3-year deal isn't the end of the world. If he's going to go somewhere for 6, it's going to be somewhere like Detroit. Where they're going to give him that because they have it. And he feels like he can go there and win because it's the Central and they were competitive this year. But I also think, he's got ties to the Phillies with Nola. This is a better chance to win. So I don't know your thoughts on him, but I'd be thrilled with Alex Bregman.
I mean, I agree. He's one of those guys that you watch for so long and like every time he comes here, you're just like, God, can he just swing at anything that isn't a strike? Or just like maybe make an attempt to look like you're swinging at something that isn't a strike. And I can distinctly remember the texts you and I would send back and forth every time he's up to the plate and he just stares at a ball that's an inch on the inside corner. and just doesn't even whiff at it.
Yeah.
Looks like he was batting third a decent amount.
Okay.
But look, is there a difference in age? Obviously. There's a huge difference in just pedigree. And bringing in another guy who's won multiple championships, I think is a big deal. Say what you will about Bryce Harper being this great player. Bryce Harper has not won a championship. I know Trey Turner has one. Kyle Schwarber has one. Nick Castellanos does not. JT Realmuto does not. Bringing in a guy who has, 3 at this point? Does he have 3?
Yes.
Like, that's a huge deal. If we talk about how important Kyle's impact is, like Bregman is another one of those guys who is not flashy. He's not overly outspoken. But I think by all accounts has been a fantastic teammate. And I can just see him fitting in really well. I mean, look, there's an injury concern. There's a concern that he's in his declining years. I'm going to be honest, when you said a Regz offseason, then you talked about $20 million for a third baseman, I thought you were going Nolan Arenado, because you know my love for him. But he's fallen off a cliff. Unfortunately, one of my favorite players of all time, but just has absolutely fallen off a cliff.
It's not someone that was off my radar.
But look, I think
the guy that makes it a Regz off season is next.
No, I can't wait. But I think Bregman would be fantastic. Bottom line, I think he would be fantastic. I just would pray that I just would pray that he's a guy who can come here and like live up to all the potential he has left while he's with us. Bryce has lived up to that potential. Trey Turner has not. Nick Castellanos comes off these crazy couple years and for these stints turns into a guy who looks like he's never seen a baseball spin before. Trey Turner hasn't looked like Trey Turner. If we really think about it, outside of maybe the beginning of this year where he was playing like an MVP before he got hurt. And we talk about this all the time. Can we just have a guy come here and play to who they are? Can we just have guys come here and be who they are and be the back of the baseball card? Because this team is almost unstoppable if these guys were playing to the back of their baseball cards all the time. So yeah, I can't knock it other than I really hope he just stays healthy and that age doesn't creep up on him faster than we think. But look, that's part of the risk, and that's I think that's okay for his approach and his mindset and his just what he brings from a experience and winning standpoint. I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, I do too, especially in the window that you have right now.
Yes.
All right, let's get to this last one that makes it the Regz.
No, I can't wait. Can't wait.
All right, Phil's send. Rafael Marchand.
All right.
Mick Abel. One of Johan Rojas or Brandon Marsh. And Brian Rincon. 2 Oakland for Brent Rooker.
Why would I be associated with Brent Rooker?
You wanted him at the deadline.
Did I?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, well, yeah. I was very persuaded, I think, by the 9 home runs he hit against us in 3 games.
Look, here's the thing. This is totally throwing shit at the wall.
Yes.
And just seeing, right? The A's don't like paying anything for anything.
Yeah.
And he's going to make $6 million, $7 million in arbitration this year.
Yeah.
It is very tantalizing to stick him behind Bryce Harper. and just deal with the ramifications of him playing left field as they come.
Yeah.
Now,
Can we go
here's
get that Butler guy who plays right field for them?
here's the possible lineup if this happens. I would lead off Bryson Stott in this scenario.
Okay.
Bregman would hit second. Just because by the time you get to Bryce, well, let's say this, by the time you get to Rooker hitting fourth, the pitcher's probably throwing around 20 pitches. Right? You know, if Stott is back to Stott,
Yeah.
Bregman is Bregman, and Bryce is locked in. Then you get to Rooker, whether there's one out or two out, or no one. And you've thrown 25 pitches, 25 pitches. So there's your top four. Schwarber hits fifth. Cassidy hits sixth. And then I just play with the bottom three. Like at that point, it's Turner, JT, and Marsh. Do what you want. I'd consider letting Turner hit ninth just as like a second leadoff type of guy. I don't think he would want to do it, but like it could be a fun like project almost to have that type of bat hitting ninth. You also need to split up those righties down at the bottom. You got three in a row after Schwarber.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Here's the problem with Rooker, besides the terrible defense. He doesn't solve their chase swing and miss stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like 10th percentile, bottom 10th percentile in chase and fit bottom 5 in swing and miss.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fix that. What it does do is it adds 40 home runs behind Bryce Harper. And in front of Bryce Harper, you're hoping that you have guys that don't swing and miss and don't chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then behind Rooker, you have a guy with a ton of power who doesn't swing and miss and doesn't chase.
Yeah.
So
what about,
sorry,
continue.
No, that's really the point there is your top 5 guys. 4 of them aren't big chase guys in this scenario. One is, but is going to be surrounded with guys on base and a guy behind him who hits for power and chase. And then you got like an always, a dangerous Nick Castellanos lingering behind that.
Yeah.
So, is it perfect? No, but could I see the Phillies being interested in a situation where if their offseason offensively is adding Bregman and Rooker, the fan base is energized by that. I really believe they are. They saw what Brent Rooker did. 90% of us wanted him anyway.
Well, and Crochet and Devin Williams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the dream, right? But the other piece to this is you suffer the defense for a year because after that year, Schwarber's gone and Rooker DHs.
Yeah.
So you suffer for 1 year.
How about,
when Crawford gets here, then you Marsh plays left field at the end of games. Who gives a shit?
Right. What would you think? What would you think of a lineup of Turner, Stott, Bregman, Harper, Rooker, Schwarber, Casty, JT, whoever?
Yeah. Bryce Harper has to hit in the first inning.
That's a fair
point.
Like
I'm almost at a point where I want to say to Bryce, like, I want you leading off. Like, he'll never do it.
Yeah.
But Bryce Harper has to hit in the first inning. He just has to. You need Bryce to get up to the plate as many times as possible.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Every night. So, I could be talked into, Bregman hitting behind. No, he needs to be hitting in front of Harper.
Yeah.
Whoever you want to hit lead off. I mean, I'm cool with Schwarber hitting there. I think it just adds a little more pop to that middle if he's behind Rooker in this scenario. But I mean, at the end of the day, the likelihood of Brent Rooker coming to Philly, knowing the need of the team, not high. So, all right, let's jump to the birds. I'll try and put another one together next week.
I very much enjoyed that one, so thank you.
You're welcome. This is tomorrow's a game, buddy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The Eagles look as though they are primed to. When you look at the NFC and you think about contenders in the NFC, like true Super Bowl contenders, not just they're going to get in the playoffs, but actual could go and win a Super Bowl. The Lions are clearly that top tier. Like they are clearly the number one when you look at it from that perspective, right? There's no question about that. After that, I truly think your second in line is the Eagles. I don't see another team that you look at right now and say they can win a Super Bowl. I think the Niners can get hot and do it. But when you look at the other teams that are around right now, the Falcons, they're not a real Super Bowl contender. The Packers maybe, but like Jordan Love has not been healthy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to buy into that. The Commanders, who we're going to see tomorrow, they're fun, but that defense isn't winning a Super Bowl. They're 0-3 against every team that they've played over 500. They have another chance tomorrow, but they're 0-3 against 3 teams that are 500 or better. And there are some other teams that are like the Cardinals, not a real contender. So, there's like 3 or 4 teams that are actual contenders in the NFC. Tomorrow, the Eagles have a chance to sort of put their stamp on we are this good. They haven't played teams in these last 5 games that strike a whole ton of confidence. Overall, look, they beat Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I don't think you can take that away from them. The Bengals have been playing everybody close. The Eagles blew their doors off in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like they've been playing everybody tight.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles go into Cincy and beat them by 5 scores. That's not by accident. There's something about the Eagles that makes them good. But the Commanders have been really tough on them at home.
Mm-hmm.
The Commanders have a very good young quarterback. This reminds me a lot of CJ Stroud last year. Like CJ Stroud took the league by storm. This year he's come back down to earth. He's having a bit of a sophomore slump. Not saying that's going to happen to Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
It could. But Jaden Daniels is having he's having one of the best rookie seasons I've ever seen from a quarterback. As a matter of fact, Ron Jaworski's the best rookie quarterback he's ever seen.
Yeah.
It's high praise. That's high praise. So going into tomorrow, the Eagles have a chance to sort of cement themselves as we are the cream of the crop in the NFC, and we're the best team in the NFC East. It's also important, not just for this game, but this stretch of games is very difficult. After this, they go out west and play the Rams. Then they come home and play, or go to Baltimore, come back east, go to Baltimore and play the Ravens. Before coming home, and I believe that's the Steelers, before they finally get to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it is. And then they end with the Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. So this is a run here, and it would be nice to start it with a win. I think with what they have coming, with the 4 games they have coming, because I think it's the stretch of 4 that's concerning.
Yeah. Rams, Ravens, Panthers, Steelers.
Okay, so the Panthers come before the Steelers. So they have a little bit of a get-right game before the Steelers. Okay. So to me, in these 5 games, 3-2 is perfectly acceptable. To me, the 2, if you're going to lose any 2, let it be the Steelers and the Ravens, because you need to win all the NFC games you can at this point. The NFC games matter because they've lost 2 NFC games already. So they need to go and win the other NFC games. And this just gets you off to a good start. I don't know. They're 3.5 point favorites. It's a 48.5 point total. We're going to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts here. But I don't know, am I missing anything in terms of the levity of this game? Because there's a lot to this game
Yeah.
that matters right now.
No, I think you covered it perfectly. I'll get into kind of what I think and what I think will be most important when we talk about keys.
Okay. So then let's say that here's what we know about Washington. Really good offense. Really questionable defense. They don't stop anyone. I mean, for crying out loud, Daniel Jones had a really good game 2 weeks ago against them. Really good game.
Yeah.
The Steelers offense left points out there. You can run the ball on them. As a matter of fact, I looked at their rushing defense today, and it ranks no better than 30th in any rushing defense category. So I expect a pretty intentionally strong Saquon Barkley night.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of this, they don't have the big acquisition they just made. Marshawn Lattimore is not playing with his hamstring injury. We've seen what A.J. Brown can do to this secondary. They just brought back Jordan Mailata from the IR, so that shores up the offensive line for the rush game and gives Jalen a little bit more comfort. Fred Johnson was fine. He was fine. But this definitely helps in that facet. On the other side of the ball, I don't think we need to say anything more about Jaden Daniels. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. It's like got a 78% completion rating this year, which is just insane.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about Brian Robinson. I don't know if he's playing tomorrow or not.
He is playing.
Is he playing?
Yep.
Okay. Because he's tough. He's tough.
He is.
And he gives the Eagles fits.
Mm-hmm.
At least he has in the past. This is a different defense. So we'll see what that looks like. And Austin Eckler's a really good second back.
Yep.
A really good second back. Zach Ertz seems to be the guy that he leans on outside of Terry McLaurin. The Commanders don't do a lot of moving McLaurin around. He plays a little bit of slot, but for the most part, he's on the left side of the field all the time.
And they're not a big motion team either.
Which means it's Quinyon Mitchell's guy.
Right. That's right.
And if it's not Quinyon's guy, it's Coop's guy. So the Eagles are sort of playing with a little bit of house money in that way with what we know about the secondary and what they've done to really good receivers. The quarterback play hasn't been Jaden Daniels' quarterback play. I mean, we saw what Joe Burrow did to them early in the game.
Yeah.
But once they settled in, he wasn't able to do those things anymore. So I will be curious to see how they can do some of the things that the Steelers did, because the Steelers can get pressure without anything other than just, hey, our guys are better than yours up front.
Yeah.
The Eagles' pressure comes from their guys on the back end being smart, being communicative, being athletic, all of those things. Here's what I'll say about what Jaden Daniels likes to do. He'll take shots, but he does like to check the ball down. He likes to use his safety valves. He likes to get the ball in the flat to guys like Rob. He likes to dump it to Ertz, and that's helped him. The Eagles haven't allowed that since the bye to hurt them.
Yeah.
They've made tackles. They've kept teams pretty much off time. They have not allowed them to get ahead of the chains. They're off schedule quite a bit. And I am curious to know sort of your thoughts on what you think. I want to take this a little further than just a general key. What you think they need to do to be successful defensively tomorrow night, because I think the only way they lose this game is if Jaden Daniels does whatever he wants every possession. Otherwise, I think I think the Eagles win it pretty easily, but it's a big otherwise.
Yeah.
So what do they need to do to keep Jaden Daniels in check?
I think a lot of this comes down to that Jaden Daniels is the most mobile quarterback they've played.
Mhm.
And his ability to kind of do what Jalen Hurts does and extend plays and even get out of the pocket and pick up first downs with his legs. We haven't seen the Eagles have to handle that sort of in this after bye week iteration of this Eagles defense. And I think they will be in real trouble if they allow Daniels to escape the pocket and extend plays. I think they'll be fine on their initial coverages, but we've seen this defense get in trouble when plays are extended. So I don't know if that means maybe Coop is like a designated spy, just all game. He's just following Daniels around with his athleticism and his ability to close. I think the linebacker play becomes even more important. They've been playing obviously very well, but they haven't faced a quarterback like this with this kind of athleticism and ability to escape the pocket. I think this comes down to the defensive line absolutely having to maintain their edges and not allowing him to get out of space or get into space. It's a real test, man. Like you said, Brian Robinson is a good running back. Austin Eckler's a good running back. Terry McLaurin kills us. And this quarterback's legit. Like, he just is. So I'm most interested to see what Vic's scheme will be to hold him in check.
So yeah, Terry McLaurin does kill the birds. In the past, he's killed James Bradbury. So
sure, again,
I'm anxious to see what this looks like with Quinion.
Absolutely.
Now on the other side of this, I hear you with Coop. I prefer to keep Coop in the position he's played. Here's what I would do. I wonder if this is the game where they unleash Sidney Brown.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the game where we see Sidney Brown playing those snaps almost as a pseudo linebacker.
Yeah.
And letting him float in the box on obvious passing downs and shadow just shadow Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. In order for the defense to be successful, it's got to be disciplined.
Yes.
In its pursuit of Jaden Daniels. You have to keep your rush lanes. You can't get over anxious and break those rush lanes, because the second you do, he will take advantage of.
Yeah.
If you get pressure on it, he can be had. He doesn't throw interceptions, but he can get a little bit wild. We saw that with the Steelers the other day. When he hits people in his face, he wasn't as accurate as what we've grown accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
We even saw that a little bit in the Bears game. He just wasn't the same when there was pressure in his face. I think this offensive line is improved on the Washington side. I don't know that they are good enough to keep the main pieces of the Eagles front at bay.
Yeah. I think the best thing I saw was that they were talking about on the Philly special, Sheil was talking about how there's no blue chippers, but they are just playing really well as a unit right now. Like, they're just playing really well.
Yeah, defensively.
The Redskin or the Commanders' offensive line is just playing.
Yeah.
Is just playing really well as a unit. There's no like all pros or anything like that. They're just they understand where everybody's at, what their responsibilities are, and they're just playing well as a unit.
Well-coached team.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn's a good head coach. I don't think I don't think there's any question about that. He's a good leader. I remember at some point, I don't know if it was one of the Falcons head coach when he was the DC in Dallas, but they always referred to him as like a leader of. So like the I feel like that was always the definition of Dan Quinn. Now, yeah, they did fine against Pittsburgh. there were a couple of plays where dudes got in,
Mhm.
made high and why obviously. But the interior was had a few times.
Yeah.
And that's where the Eagles are their best. Milton Williams, Moro Ojama, obviously Jalen Carter, who had his way with in college. I don't know if you recall the play where he basically picked him up off the ground with
Yeah, I
one arm.
saw that.
But,
Yeah.
but that was, I forgot that was Jaden Daniels that he did that to. So that's where the Eagles' strengths are. And there were a few plays where like Cam Hayward made a play in the middle of the field
Mhm.
because that interior is just not as strong. So I am also curious to see how this shapes up. I haven't been this excited about an Eagles game since like the 2022 playoff run. Like I am very excited for tomorrow night. Very excited. I don't know that there's much that I'm leaning into offensively. I think this is a team that can be had offensively. I do worry about a slow start
Yeah.
tomorrow, and what that could mean against an offense like Washington. So, I'm hoping that it's not as slow of a start as what we've grown accustomed to.
Mhm.
Um, and that, the Eagles are able to get on the board early, and just give themselves some confidence. Even if it is just 3 to start, just something to give yourself some confidence as an offense. And I would feed Saquon early and often.
Yeah.
Use that run game at the start and just get them second guessing, and then later in the game um, start hitting them with other things. I think about the old remember the Titans Herman Boone line where he says it's like Vaseline. If you give it enough time, it'll work. I think we've given it enough time. We know what works. Give the ball to Saquon early in the game
Yeah.
and establish that part of your offense. And I think also it does keep the ball away from Jaden Daniels.
Right.
Um, and if you can do that with a rookie quarterback, maybe there's a little bit of panic of I got to get us back in this game, and you can get him out of rhythm.
I think keeping them off the field is a huge part of this. I think if they can just wear them down, I think like you said, they can be had. But if we can put together 8-9 minute drives and limit their possessions, I think you're right. I think they start to get maybe a little frustrated. He starts to take some risks that he's not used to taking. I think that would be a huge deal. And especially if you can just do that and finish your drives and touchdowns. It's going to be hugely important to finish with 7 points at the end of these drives.
This is a fun new quarterback rivalry in the division. Jalen is sort of like a veteran now. And he had some really nice things to say about Daniels today in his press conference. Just that he's always seen him as a special talent and says all the right things as he typically does when it comes to the opponents and things of that nature. But this is a chance for Jalen to, like the team can cement themselves a little bit. Jalen can cement himself as, being the guy in the NFC East. It's clearly not the dude in New York.
Yeah.
They're talking about drafting another quarterback in Dallas at the end of this year. And Jaden Daniels is getting all the hype. Like people are basically saying he surpassed, Jalen already and that, should be in the conversation for MVP of the league. And like, if I'm Jalen, like I'm not handling that going into tomorrow. And I want to prove that I can still be that guy. When you think about it, Regz, no other quarterback has gone toe to toe with Pat Mahomes in the postseason, to the point where outside of Josh Allen, to the point where you're looking at that quarterback and saying he could have beaten him, and he didn't. No one else has really done that. And Jalen left the field with a lead in that Super Bowl. He left the field with, or was it? It was tied. I'm sorry. He left the field in a tie game. And I to this day believe that if they got the ball back, game.
Yeah.
Jalen, has his flaws, he has his warts, but I think tomorrow is a game where we see, what is Jalen Hurts really about? What is he made of? And I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see, what we get from Jalen tomorrow, and what we get from this team tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just for context, we both have a win. You have this as your mulligan.
Okay.
I
feel pretty good about that.
You put 12. You put 12 on it.
I feel pretty good about that.
I don't have it as my mulligan, and I have 4 on it, but I also have it as a win, which shows how not confident I was. So you have a you have a nice little pocket on this for tomorrow.
Completely forgot.
Nice little pocket. Yeah, should be interesting. But anyway, so let's get to it.
Yeah,
I
let's
don't
get
know.
into it.
You can give me a key if you have one. I don't know. Was your key if you have another one? But again, 3.5. I'll go first because I think I've been going first
Yes.
and they've been winning.
Yes.
So we'll stick with that. Look, I'll say simply this: the key is to simply come out and be the better team. When you look at the two teams on paper, the Eagles are by far the better team.
Yes.
They're honestly, Regz, outside of quarterback, there's not a position on the field that I think that the Commanders are a better team.
Yeah.
Not one position group, not one player. Like there's not a spot on the field where I feel that way outside of potentially quarterback. And I still think Jalen has a slight advantage due to experience. Jaden Daniels won't be scared of the moment tomorrow. He's played in the SEC. He's played in loud environments. That's not going to bother him. What could get to him is this defense not allowing him to do what he's been able to do to this point. Frustrate him, make him question himself. He's yet to be challenged. The Steelers defense was okay. The Steelers secondary is not good.
Yeah, right.
On the boundary. They have Minka Fitzpatrick's fantastic. But on the boundary, they're not good. They don't have Darius Slay. They don't have Quinyon Mitchell. They don't have Cooper DeJean. So this is the best secondary that he's faced. Frustrate him early, frustrate him often, dominate the game. That's the key. Just be dominant tomorrow. You're the better team. You literally came out and said that you weren't thinking about the Cowboys and that you were only worried about what the Commanders were. Multiple players said that, including Lane Johnson, a captain and veteran. So tomorrow night, show us how much that matters. That's the key. Like, show us that's why you were thinking that. And if you can do that, then they're going to win. I'll let you give your key, then I'll give my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, my key is what we talked about. It's the scheme that Vic Fangio comes up with to keep Jaden Daniels in check. Obviously, the formula that they've had has worked well over the past few weeks. The players are playing really well. This is their biggest challenge. So can they come up with a way to keep this offense in check? Again, not to like 3 points or something, or 6 points like with Dallas. They're going to score some points. That's okay. But can you keep him out of rhythm? Can you make it as difficult as possible to get those points? I think that's the key.
Yeah. It's a 3.5 point spread. I think the Eagles win 31-17. And I think it's about that close. Like, I think the score tells the story of the game. You know how sometimes we say, this wasn't as close as it looked, wasn't as bad as it seemed. I think this game is like the Eagles feel in control, but never really pull away entirely. It's like that one score and then 2 score and then 1 score and then 2 score throughout. I think that's what it is. 28-17, in the fourth. Eagles have one of those long drives and field goal to stretch it to 2 touchdowns. I think that's the way that it goes. 31-17 Birds.
Yeah. I have very similar. I have 31-21. I think it's probably 24-14 or 21-14, something like that, maybe going into the fourth quarter. We get a touchdown. Maybe they answer with a touchdown. We get that field goal like you talked about to kind of put it away towards the end there. Yeah, I'm going to say 31-21.
Okay. Well, folks, there you have it. It's a huge game. The Eagles win this game. They hold essentially 2 games in the division with the tiebreaker currently. They have to play them again. And they have a tougher schedule than the Commanders do coming up. Plain and simple. The Commanders might have 2 more losses on their schedule. Maybe New Orleans can beat them in New Orleans. But they have 1 more with the Eagles and then 1 with the Falcons. Outside of that, it is not a difficult track the rest of the way. So this game is crucial to the division hopes. And as we round out the year, it becomes increasingly important to win the division because the NFC has a lot of teams in that 2, 3, 4 loss sort of spectrum. So winning this game is really important, especially that it's your home game.
Yeah.
They're coming off a short week against a really physical team, and the Eagles are coming off a short week where they sat their starters for a quarter and a half. So the only thing that bothers me, I said it on last show, is the idea that the Eagles had to fly across the country, and the Commanders got to sleep in their own beds.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all plays out. I think those 2 things sort of cancel each other out. And once, Vinny Curry said it a couple times since this week. Once you get out there on Thursday, it doesn't matter. You're playing football. It feels like Sunday.
Yeah.
And all I'm hoping for is a win and that they get into this mini bye week healthy before they have to travel out west to play a tricky Rams. A tricky Rams.
Yeah, for
one
sure.
that I think they'll beat, but a tricky one.
Yep.
So we will be back next Thursday. I will be jet lagged as hell. I'll be flying back from Colorado overnight on. So Thursday will be fun for me. But we will recap this. If the Phillies do anything, we will certainly talk about that. If they don't, maybe I'll have a third version of what they could do.
There you go.
Maybe the Sixers will win a couple of games. I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
But until then, we hope you have a good rest of this week and into next week. Make sure you follow us, click subscribe on the YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, review, do all the things. Go over to social media at the Phixated Pod on Twitter, at the Mike Drop 5, at Big Regz with a Z. Phixated fan page on Facebook, and the at the Phixated Pod on TikTok. And head on over to the show description for the merchandise link. We'll try and post some stuff when we're together on Saturday for the golf event in Philly. So we'll take a couple videos of us having some fun at Citizens Bank Park.
I think we'll post about what our bet is, and we'll keep everyone up to date through the Twitter account.
We have a bet?
We're going to make one when we get there.
Oh, okay. All right now.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what this could be.
All
I
right.
look very much forward to that.
There you go.
So you guys are learning about our bet as I learn about it, but we'll fill you in on what it is, and you can maybe place your own wager on the social media account. But we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you next week. And until then, be good to yourself, be good to others. We love you guys and we appreciate you. I don't really have much else to say other than Phillies make a move, but really go
Birds, baby.
Oh my God, deep to right field, way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.